Last month, I watched Total Drama Island for the very first time with one goal in mind: to try and predict the winner of the show before the reveal. And it was a ton of fun. So now I'm going to be doing it again with the second season of Total Drama. Total Drama Action! So this is how it's going to work. I'm going to be watching Total Drama Action for the very first time. And after every episode, I'm going to come in here, break down my suspects, theories, and clues of who I think could be the winner of the entire season. I'll also break down who went home in the episode, who won the challenge, and essentially I will come in here and lock in two different predictions. My main prediction is who I think wins the entire season, but I have a second prediction of who I think is going home in the next episode. That way, when we get to the end of the season, we can see exactly how close or how far off I was from getting it correct. So with all of that out of the way, let's jump right into episode 1 of Total Drama Action.
It's like school for grown-ups.
Prison.
Total Drama Action.
New episode Thursday at 9.
This video is sponsored by Helix Sleep. You guys know I love solving mysteries, and recently I solved the biggest mystery of all: sleep. I took the Helix Sleep Quiz, which matches you up with the perfect mattress for your body type and sleep preferences. It asks you questions like how old each person sleeping on the mattress is, height, weight, sleeping preferences. Personally, I sleep on my side. And I cannot stress to you guys enough how much I love this mattress. This year I've been having a hard time sleeping, and I'm not exaggerating to you guys when I say that after I got my Helix Sleep mattress, I have had no trouble falling asleep, which has worked out awesome for me. But Helix does offer a 120 night sleep trial to test the mattress and ensure that you love it. Also, all Helix mattresses come with a lifetime warranty. And I'm not the only one who loves Helix Sleep. Helix has been reviewed against hundreds of competitors and always wins. The Helix Moonlight Luxe, which is the mattress that I have, has been ranked as the best overall mattress according to both Forbes and Wired, and according to me. And everyone knows my opinion matters way more. Now, if you're not in the market for a mattress right now, but you do wish you could improve your sleep or your old mattress, Helix offers the perfect solution because they have a range of mattress toppers. These mattress toppers can upgrade your comfort without replacing your mattress, and it can even extend the life of an older mattress. And depending on which one you get, it will customize to your personal needs, such as their Ergo Align mattress topper, which has 3 different support zones to optimize spinal alignment, which means that it's great for those with lower back pain and, looking for extra support. Or their premium memory foam mattress topper, which is great for sleepers who are just looking for added pressure relief. Thank you, Helix Sleep, for sponsoring. Take advantage of their Black Friday exclusive partner offer and get 27% off site-wide at helixsleep.com/ChaseBridges.
The plan was almost perfect.
Let's go rob a bank!
From getting in.
Anyone home? This is a robbery.
We're back, baby. So at the end of season 1 of Total Drama Island, we got like an hour-long special that sets up season 2, which is called Total Drama Action. Basically, Owen, who was the winner of season 1, traded in his $100,000 for an opportunity to win $1 million. But it's up for grabs for the entire cast of season 1. So basically, they all try to win the money, but they end up losing the briefcase full of cash to a shark who eats it. Them's the breaks. So in order for them to be able to actually earn the money, 14 of the cast members from season 1 will be returning for season 2 for the chance to win $1 million. And guys, I just watched episode 1 of season 2, and pretty much what happens in this episode is that it sets up everything that we need to know that is different this season from last season. For example, this season does not take place on an island. It takes place on like an abandoned movie lot. And the whole season is movie themed. For example, the challenge for this episode was based on old monster movies like Godzilla. The players have to try to make it to their trailers, where they will be sleeping for the season instead of cabins like in last season. And basically, they have to avoid being attacked by a giant monster. Owen, who was the winner of last season, ends up being the winner of this challenge. And he gets to pick which trailer the boys on this season will be sleeping in. Now, before we move any further, let's break down who is actually playing in this season, because it's not everyone from season 1. It is only 14 of them. The returning players are Duncan, Gwen, Beth, Trent, DJ, Heather, Jeff, Harold, Owen, Bridget, Lindsay, Izzy, Justin, and Lashana. Now, this is where things are a little bit different, because as of right now, they are not separated into two different teams like they were last season. It is kind of implied in this episode that they are going to be divided up boys versus girls, which, to be fair, the show Survivor, in which Total Drama is parroting, has done several gender tribes before. Like, they'll do a season where it's guys versus girls. So this might just be a take on that, but it might not. This isn't a fact. This is just kind of what I picked up from the first episode. Anyway, these are our contestants, and it is our job to try to figure out which one of these 14 players is going to win the entire season and the $1 million. At this point, we have very little to work off of. One thing that I do feel very confident about, though, is that Owen, who won last season, probably not going to win this season as well. It would be insane if they had the same player win back-to-back. Especially after first challenge of the season, Owen wins it, putting him up in a strong position for the new season. There's no chance he's winning this whole thing, right? Now, what is very interesting about having these players return from last season is there are established dynamics and relationships that were made in season 1 that carry on into season 2. For example, we know that a lot of these contestants are paired off. Everyone here pretty much has a showmance or a friendship that kind of gives them a partner, you know, like a two-person alliance. Gwen and Trent are a couple. Jeff and Bridget are a couple. Izzy and Owen kind of have an on-again, off-again type relationship. Beth and Lindsay, they are BFFs from last season. And then you have Lashana, who has a very close friendship and relationship with Gwen, and by extension, Trent. And then we have some players who are just alone, like Justin. His whole thing is that he's the super hot guy. I'm going to be completely honest. It was very surprising to me that he is one of the ones returning for season 2. His whole shtick of being, you know, the hot guy, it ran itself into the ground pretty quickly in season 1, and then he was gone pretty early. So maybe the reason they brought him back for this season is to kind of like use him more, give him some more depth or something as a character, because literally everything we saw from him last season was just him being like, I'm hot, and everybody being like, you can have whatever you want. Duncan is also kind of alone because his girlfriend from last season, Courtney, is not returning for this season. Harold is on his own. Heather is the villain from last season, and she is still hated by everyone here. DJ is also alone. So I think that it's safe to say that some of these characters that were brought back were probably only brought back so that they could be one of the first ones eliminated. And others were brought back because they were like the main characters from last season, and us, the audience, is going to want to see more of them. So, right off the bat, after watching episode 1, I need to lock in a prediction for who I think is going to win this entire season, just based on what we learned in episode 1, which is going to make this difficult. So who am I going to pick? I'm thinking strategy-wise, we should pick someone who is a main character from last season, but didn't make it all the way to the end. Someone like Trent, or Lashana, Duncan, or maybe even Heather. Maybe Heather kind of has a redemption this season. She was the main villain last season. Maybe this season she gets a change of heart, becomes a fan favorite. Mostly because, like, if they brought her back just for her to keep being the mean girl, the villain the entire time, we've already seen that before. We saw that last season. So it would be weird if they just did it again. So what I think I'm going to do, since we don't have too much to work off of, I am going to set my prediction for who I think wins the whole season to Lashana. I'm locking Lashana in for this episode. The reason I'm picking her is because I feel like she was a great character last season. And I think that she would have been like a pick to go to the very end, but I don't know if you guys remember from season 1, she ended up accidentally getting eliminated because of like a twist element where everybody kept accidentally saying her name, but then they weren't meaning to eliminate her. It was a whole thing. I really feel like she was one of the bigger fan favorites from season 1, and I feel like she could go all the way in season 2. Also, let me clarify something real quick because I feel like maybe there was some confusion from people who watched my last Total Drama Island video who, hadn't seen my other videos, and so I don't think I did a great job of explaining how it works. I'm going to be locking in a prediction for who I think is going to win after every episode, right? So I'm locking in Lashana now. But that's not a permanent decision. After episode 2, I might decide that there's no way Lashana's the winner and I can change my winner pick. And technically I can change it as many times as I want after each episode until the big reveal. The only reason we do like the locked in thing, saying it's a locked in pick, is because let's say Lashana is the winner and I locked her in as my prediction for episode 1. Then halfway through the season, I change my pick to someone else, but Lashana is the winner. We can look back and we can see, oh, well, after episode 1, Chase locked in Lashana, but at episode 9, he locked in someone else. So he technically predicted the whole season in episode 1, but he dropped the ball halfway through the season. Does that make sense? And then I will also, after every episode, be locking in my prediction for who I think goes home next. Which, speaking of which, no one went home in episode 1. And I'm kind of curious that, like, I don't know if anyone's going to go home in the next episode either because we still don't know the teams. Plus, there's like a ton of episodes in this season, but there's only 14 players. So I don't know if that means that we're going to be getting an elimination every single episode like last season, or if it's going to be kind of spaced out this season. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But if I had to lock in a guess for who I think is going to be going home first this season, which I do have to pick because that's the whole point, I think that I'm going to lock in someone like Justin. Why do we need the super hot guy for long? His whole gimmick was ran into the ground so quick last season. I can't imagine he's going to last long this season. You can't just keep doing the same gag over and over and over again without changing it up. So for that reason, I'm locking in Justin as who I think is going home next. Although I will say it would be really cool if the show did something kind of shocking and sent home one of like the main characters first, just to kind of send a message that anyone could go home at any time this season. Like imagine Owen, who won last season, is the first one eliminated from season 2. That would be pretty wild. All right, this was a very fun first episode of Total Drama Action. I'm very excited to keep watching, so let's go jump in and watch episode 2. Oh, wait, real quick. The host's name is Chris McLean. I kept calling him Chris McLean last video. I don't even know why I did that. In the show, they call him Chris McLean. Don't know why I said McLean, but I am dressed as him. So, also got a haircut. Had to chop off I had a mullet for a little bit. If you're a fan of the channel, you know the story. Okay, episode 2.
1 million years BC
It's the Stone Age.
was the beginning of civilized society.
I make fire!
Okay, guys, I just watched episode 2, and we do get some very interesting developments. First things first, we still don't know what the teams are, but we do find out that we will be figuring out the teams in the next episode. Because the challenge for this episode was alien themed. Basically, everyone's running around trying to find alien eggs and bring them back to the base without being shot to death from the alien mama. The mama alien is Chef with a paintball gun. The first 2 to succeed will get to be the team captains and pick the teams in the next episode. Now, the winners of the challenge are Trent and Gwen. Trouble in paradise. Not only because they're the team captains, which means that they will be playing against each other this season, but also Gwen seems to have a lot in common with Duncan, and the three of them are kind of the main focus of this episode. And it kind of feels like these three are going to go very far into the season. They're kind of the main characters so far. And if you remember, Gwen made it all the way to the very end last season, along with Duncan, and Trent made it very far as well. Now, another crazy thing that happens in this episode is we do in fact get an elimination. Or should I say eliminations? A double elimination. 2 people go home. Now, if you remember, I had locked in Justin for who I thought was going to be going home next. That was not the case. In a bit of a shock, Jeff and Bridget are the first 2 eliminated from Total Drama Action. They were voted out because all they do is make out and annoy everyone else on the cast. So 2 characters who were major characters last season are already gone this season. Pretty crazy stuff. Board's already getting smaller. Now, let's talk about why we're really here. Who do I think is going to win this entire season? Last episode, I locked in Lashana as my winner pick. And honestly, I feel really good about that right now. But there is an interesting thing that happened in the elimination ceremony when Jeff and Bridget were eliminated. The final 3 people on the chopping block, the ones that were likely to go home, were Jeff, Bridget, and Lashana, with Lashana just barely, making her way to safety. And I do always think that it's pretty interesting who Chris includes in the chopping block along with the player who does go home. I think it's just as interesting to see who is the other person who didn't go home but was one of the 2 options. For example, last season, it was always Heather who was the main villain of the season, and then someone else. And that someone else would always end up being the one that goes home. The psychology behind it was that everyone hates Heather, right? So everyone would assume that Heather was going to be the one to go home, but for some reason or another, the other person on the chopping block ended up going home. This makes me wonder if it's going to be something similar this season. Is Lashana going to be at the bottom of the barrel all season long? So that way, if she does win, it comes across as this big underdog story. It's like, wow, she was on the bottom the entire time, but she managed to win. That's a very Survivor type storyline to happen. And remember, Total Drama is a parody of the reality show Survivor. If you're a fan of Survivor, you can listen to me talk about Survivor on my Survivor podcast, Making the Merge, links down below. Basically, what I'm saying is I think Lashana is still a really solid pick for the winner prediction. I'm going to keep her locked in for who I think wins the whole season. Now, for my next prediction, I need to lock in who I think is going to go home next. Last time, I locked in Justin. And after watching this episode, I am starting to wonder if maybe the plan is to keep Justin around for a bit longer. He was gone really quickly last season, so maybe in order to switch it up, they'll keep him around. I mean, the fact that Jeff and Bridget, both players eliminated right off the bat, pretty crazy. Seems like it was a message of like anything could happen this season. And then I start thinking like from a writing perspective, from a story structure perspective, if it's made clear that the main characters from last season are on the table, maybe we're going to start seeing some major characters that we saw a whole lot of last season get eliminated early this season. So that way we get players like Justin, who we don't know much about, more room and time to be more fleshed out characters. So because of that, I'm going to change my prediction for who is going to be eliminated next time from Justin. Oops. And I'm going to give it to either Owen, who won last season, or DJ. Those are 2 guys that we saw a whole lot of last season. And you know what? Now that I say it out loud, because Owen did win last season, I imagine that means he will be going home relatively soon. I'm locking in Owen for the next elimination. Well, there is only one way to find out if we are correct, and that is by watching episode 3. So let's go do that.
Total Drama Action. New episode at a special time. Sunday, right after Scooby-Doo, The Mystery Begins. Only on Cartoon Network.
Okay, so after I watched last season, I just finished episode 3, by the way. After I watched last season, I thought I had a pretty firm grasp on the Total Drama universe. But this is a whole new season. It's very different, and I think that I'm off the mark a little bit. Let me explain. So, we get the new teams for this season in this episode. Gwen picks her team. She picks Duncan, Lashana, DJ, Heather, Harold. Then Trent picked Lindsay, Justin, Beth, Owen, Izzy, or E-Scope. She's going by Kaleidoscope this season, or E-Scope for short. I'm just going to keep calling her Izzy. Now, at the base of this episode, the main storyline of this episode is Gwen versus Trent, because they are in a relationship, they're dating, and then now there's this whole jealous rivalry going on. But by the end of this episode, they are back together, like everything's okay, they're done fighting. And for the challenge in this episode, they have to like carry a bunch of film equipment up to the top of a mountain, which is a set. It's a fake mountain. And when they get to the top of this mountain, they have to build a film set themselves, and they have to put on a performance. Now, this is where things get wild. If you remember, in the last episode, which I don't know why I said that, it was 20 seconds ago for you, I said that I thought the next person going home was going to be either Owen, who I locked in, or DJ. Everything that was happening in this episode was setting it up for that to be the case. And as it's happening, I was like, oh boy, I am so locked in. I'm a genius. I'm going to crush this video. All of my subscribers are going to be hyping me up in the comments. They're going to be like, Chase, you're so smart. You're such a genius. How did you know that was going to happen? There's going to be a bunch of people that think I faked this video because I'm so locked in and so good at my predictions. To the point where in this challenge, it came down to Owen and DJ, which one was able to carry the giant trailer up this mountain. DJ refuses to do it. His whole team hates him. And I'm like, dude, he's obviously going home. Owen is obviously on the bottom 2. They're probably going to be the next 2 voted out. I'm on track. And then out of nowhere, Chef, who, if you don't remember, if you've never watched the show, but you're watching this video for some reason, Chef is like the host's Chris McClain, his sidekick. He's the chef that makes all the food for the contestants. He is cheating. He is cheating and helping DJ. He offers to help mentor DJ and to help him win the game, win the season, in exchange for splitting the $1 million with him. And he heavily implies that because of this deal, he was the judge of the competition in this episode, he essentially tells DJ like, hey, why do you think your team won this week? Huh, big dog? It's because somebody was the judge, right? I mean, this is just insane. How was I supposed to see that coming? It's just like how I did not see the Jeff and Bridget elimination coming. A double elimination right off the bat? And then guess who gets voted out in this episode? Fucking Izzy. I didn't see that coming. I didn't even think she was on the bottom. So now I'm feeling pretty wild, dude. I feel like I have zero grasp on this season. I feel like I don't even know this show at all, right? So now I'm like, well, maybe DJ is going to be lasting a long time in the show because he has this whole partnership with Chef where Chef's going to be cheating to help him make it farther in the game. Meanwhile, Trent and Gwen are obviously like the main characters of this season so far. Duncan seems to be a main character, but we've hardly seen any of Lashana, who, if you don't remember, I've locked in as my winner prediction. And while all this is going on, we have Heather, who is seeming just like so competent and just like really good at the game this season. And I was like, okay, well, maybe we will get this like redemption arc from her this season. Maybe I should switch my winner pick from Lashana to Heather. But here's the thing. I did the same thing last season where I switched my winner pick and gave it to Heather, and then Heather did not win the season. I have no idea who goes home next. I have no idea who's going to win this season. I thought that I was so smart, but it turns out that I am just as in the dark as Batman in the third Christopher Nolan Batman movie when he's down in the pit and then he meets Bane later and Bane's like, you think darkness is your friend. And then that's how I feel right now. I thought the show was my friend, but I've just been in the dark. You know, I thought that I could climb out of that pit and see the light, but I fell and broke my back. What I'm saying is I don't know what's happening, but I do have to lock in a prediction for who I think is going home next. Izzy went home this week, or E-Scope, whatever her name is. And since we lost a female character in this episode, I think odds are we'll lose a male character next time. And honestly, I kind of just want to keep it locked in on Owen, because I do feel like he is going home soon. I mean, it crossed my mind that maybe I should lock in Justin again. I'm just going to keep it with Owen. I need to trust my gut. And speaking of like trusting my gut, I'm going to keep my locked in winner pick with Lashana for now. But if she does not start showing up in these episodes more, I'm probably going to change it. All right, let's go watch episode 4 and see if we can get some sort of grasp on this situation.
It's a new name.
I am Lumber Woman!
The world has a new hero.
All in a day's work.
And crime has a new face to fear.
New development that I did not see coming, my friends. I watched episode 4. We did not get an elimination. So that's when I was like, okay, seems like because there's way less players this season, we're not getting an elimination every episode. We're getting it like every other episode. So I'm just going to readjust a little bit. I watched episode 4 and episode 5. So basically, I don't want to check in after every episode, because then that would give me, if they're doing this thing that I think they're doing, which is there's like a reward challenge episode and then an elimination challenge episode, kind of like the show Big Brother. I don't want to have 2 opportunities to lock in who I think is going home, because then I feel like that's kind of cheating. So I'm going to be I come back in here after each elimination is essentially what's happening. It's not that complicated. Anyway, I was wrong. I had locked in Owen for who I thought was going to be going home next, but he is still here. I do feel the need to point out, though, that in the elimination ceremony, he was on the chopping block. He was in the bottom 2. Well, I know what you're thinking, Chase. Well, if Owen didn't go home, then who did go home? Thank you for asking. The big storyline from this episode, it's all about this episode, because remember, it's 2 episodes, both of them, all about Trent and Gwen. This whole season so far, it's been the Trent and Gwen show. And it became pretty clear in episode 4 that I was like, uh-oh. Trent and Gwen's story is about to come to a close. Trent gets like really weird in these episodes. It's like he's obsessed with Gwen to the point of like OCD tendencies. Like he has to do things exactly 9 times. And the reason it's 9 times is because if you take the number of letters in Trent's name and Gwen's name, it's 9 letters. He's actively throwing the challenges to help Gwen and her team. It's just a whole mess because Gwen doesn't want that. So Gwen breaks up with him. And then Justin, who, by the way, has become the villain of this season. Remember, last season, the main villain of the whole thing was Heather. But now it seems like Justin's filling that role, which throws a whole wrench in my thought about Justin, because if Justin's the main villain for this season, he's going to last a while. Anyway, Justin overhears Gwen and Trent breaking up because Trent was throwing the challenges for Gwen. This makes Justin very upset, right? Because he just found out that Trent was throwing the challenges and costing his team the game. Justin tells the rest of the team. They're all very upset. They all confront Gwen because I guess it was her fault for some reason. She wasn't the one doing it, but they confront Gwen. She's like, guys, I don't want that to be happening either. Vote his ass off. I do not care. And that is exactly what they do. Guys, Trent, the team captain, is eliminated. Now, there are a couple other things that happen in these episodes, and it's mostly just dynamics between the different characters. Like Lashana, for example, I have her locked in as who I think is going to win the whole game. Not feeling great about that pick right now. But I can't I don't want to abandon ship too early because we still have a whole lot of episodes left. Like we're barely into the season. And she is still getting enough screen time to where I would consider her a main character, I think. Like when it comes to who are the main characters, Gwen definitely feels like a main character. But Trent felt like a main character. His ass is grass, brother. Owen feels like a main character still. I mean, he was, the winner from last season, but he was like, the thing about him being the winner last season is like he was so heavily featured in every episode last season. And he is so heavily featured in every episode this season. Surely he's not going to win again, right? Harold is someone that feels way more interesting this season. I consider him kind of a main character at this point. And an interesting thing about this season is we have reverted back to the dynamic he had with Duncan last season, which was Duncan was just always bullying him. And last season, as revenge for Duncan always bullying Harold actually cheated at the game and sent home Duncan's girlfriend, Courtney. And it just kind of seems like maybe they're setting up a similar situation this season. Maybe this time Duncan gets his revenge on Harold. Or maybe Harold gets the upper hand again. Sends Duncan home soon. Harold ends up going really far into the game. And then there's Justin, who we've already brought up. He's become the main villain of this season. His character, a ton of fun. Last season, he was a very bland, one-dimensional character with only kind of one bit, which was he's super hot. This season, a lot more dynamic. I mean, that's still like the main joke, like him being hot, but it seems like he's really playing hard this season. And another interesting thing about Justin as the villain this season, just like how Heather was the villain last season and had two minions, Lindsay and Beth, Justin also has Lindsay and Beth as like his minions. And he's really laying it on thick with Beth in particular. I would not be surprised if the storyline we get with these two is that Justin takes Beth with him all the way to the end, cuts her out right towards like the final 4 or 5, and then, maybe Justin wins the game, or maybe not. I don't know. It's just like, I find it hard to believe that a villain would win the whole season. But because that didn't happen last season, maybe it will happen this season. DJ is still being helped out by Chef. They are cheating. I think it's going to end up blowing up in their faces. I mean, realistically, I think the only way that storyline ends is with them getting caught. But I guess there's always the chance that he wins the whole season. Actually, DJ ends up winning the whole season because of Chef. It gets found out after the fact, which means DJ's disqualified from getting the $1 million, setting up a season 3 where everybody is playing for the $1 million again. Kind of genius. And then we have Harold, who her kind of story so far this season is that she's pretty bummed that everyone hates her. She feels kind of lonely. She has an interesting dynamic with Harold. Maybe the two of them will team up and go far into the game. I really don't know. But one thing that I do know is that out of everyone, I feel like Lashana might be going home very soon. Like in one of the challenges, she does a terrible job, almost costs them the game. Luckily they didn't. Luckily she didn't. Because if she had cost them the game because of her terrible dancing in the dance competition, they would have definitely sent her home. And the only reason that they didn't go to the Illuminati ceremony, Jesus Christ, the elimination ceremony, is because Trent was throwing the challenge. So basically what I'm saying is I think that Lashana or Owen will be the next elimination. And since Owen is on the Killer Grips, which is the team that just lost Trent, that makes me think that the next time we lose someone, it's going to be from the Screaming Gaffers. And since Lashana is on that team, I think I'm going to be changing my locked-in pick for who I think is going home next from Owen to Lashana. And I know what you're probably screaming. Chase, you have Lashana locked in as your winner pick, but now you're saying that she's going home next? What's up with that? Things change. I got to pick a new winner pick, dude. Life is always in flux. It ebbs and flows. It's not set in stone, brother. You gotta let life move you. You can't move life. So, Chase, if you think Lashana is going home next, you have to pick a new winner pick. Who do you think is going to be the new winner? I'm going to lock in someone that could either be a smash success, winner of the season, I'm a genius, or it could really, 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 really come back to bite me. And that is Gwen. Gwen came in second place last season. She still feels like the main character of this season. So for episodes 4 and 5, I'm locking in Gwen for who I think is going to win the entire season. Realistically, do I think that they are going to make the second place winner from last season the winner of this season? Probably not, maybe not. But I'm gonna be real with you guys, this is getting stressful. I haven't been able to accurately predict anything so far, and so I'm just trying to try anything. I really feel like Lashana's going home next. And so I don't want to have my winner pick go home. So I had to do something. Oh God. Okay, let's go watch the next episode or episodes, depending on if they keep up the every other elimination thing.
Total drama action. The challenges are based on movies,
Today's genre, the monster movie.
and they're better,
Whoever stays on the surfboard longest wins.
bigger,
It's a giant game of capture the flag.
and ripped from today's headlines.
Have you ever seen someone so serial killery?
I'm an idiot. Episode 6 was an aftermath episode, so it was like an after show thing hosted by Jeff and Bridget. It's a really cool thing, but it's not really a part of the main competition, right? So I also watched episode 7, and episode 7 was prison themed. It was like a Shawshank Redemption style challenge. And there were some really fun challenges in this episode, but that doesn't really matter because the big story on this one is that Gwen owes the other team because Trent was throwing the game for her, costing them challenges. So the entire time in episode 7, Gwen is trying to throw the challenges so that way it'll be even, right? She's just trying to make everything right. She's trying to even out the score. And as I'm watching this, because I just locked Gwen in as my winner pick, I'm feeling embarrassed because her team finds out that she's throwing it, or they at least pick up the vibes that she's essentially Heather is this girl's throwing the challenges. And everybody's like, man, don't talk about Gwen like that. But then by the end of it, they vote Gwen out. Gwen is eliminated. The person that I just locked in as my winner pick was eliminated. So Gwen's gone. Both team captains are gone now. I just don't know what went wrong, right? Because last season, I feel like I had a pretty good grasp on the game. I accurately predicted 5 or 6 different eliminations. And now this season, I have been wrong about every little thing so far. So I need to lock in. I need to redeem myself. So let's figure this out. Chef is still very heavy-handedly helping DJ. Now, my initial thought was, okay, this seems to be a major storyline between DJ and Chef. That means it's going to last for a long time, which means DJ is going to be here for a long time. But now I'm starting to wonder if that's where I'm going wrong, right? I think I actually need to be suspicious of the major storylines, the major plot lines, like DJ and Chef, because these major storylines are likely to wrap up soon, right? Because you just can't keep them going for 20-something episodes. They're going to get stale eventually. So it's likely that these major storylines that are at the forefront of episodes now, at the beginning of the season, will wrap up soon, which means that it's likely that maybe DJ doesn't make it very far. Oh, that reminds me. Another crazy thing that happens in this episode. Izzy is officially back in the game. They do stuff like this sometimes. Last season, they brought back several players, so I need to try to take that into account too. I will say, I don't think Izzy's the winner. I don't think, well, I mean, what do I know? But I wouldn't expect that Izzy gets voted out, brought back a couple episodes later, and then goes on and wins the whole season, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, Heather kind of steps back towards the villain role in this episode, right? Because she was antagonizing Gwen. She really felt like Gwen was throwing the challenges, which she was. So even though Heather seemed like she was becoming the antagonizing villain again, she was actually kind of being the hero for her team. She managed to figure out that she was throwing the challenges and stepped in and called it out, kind of saving any of them for being eliminated by Gwen's throwing of the game, you know? Maybe this is a part of that redemption arc that we've been thinking. Speaking of villains, Justin is full-on villain mode now. And with my new mindset, my new strategy, it's making me think that maybe Justin could be going home soon. I really thought that he was going to be the main villain of the entire season, But I do think maybe that storyline is kind of running out of steam already. We still have a lot of season in front of us. Maybe they wrap up that storyline sooner rather than later. So if that's the case, then Justin Goes Home Soon will need kind of a new villain character for this season. Maybe that will be picked back up by Heather. I don't know. Or maybe DJ and Chef cheating is the villain of the season, you know, is an interesting dynamic where there is definitely wrongdoing happening. There's a lot of options on the board, guys, including the idea that former players from last season come back, right? Because we watched the Aftermath episode, which was Jeff and Bridget hosting all of the players from last season, or at least a bunch of them, and getting their reactions and talking to them. And I kind of took that as like, maybe they're like reminding the audience about these players because they could come into play later on in the season. And really the only reason I think that, though, is because there's still like 20 episodes left. And this is it. This is the whole, I mean, Izzy's back now, but it was even less than that. And so it's like, how are they going to fill all these episodes? Maybe they're going to be bringing a bunch of people back. Anyway, I do need to lock in a new winner pick because Gwen was eliminated. So now, instead of looking for someone who's like the forefront of the season, like a main character of the season, I need to be looking at someone who does not have a whole lot of storylines directly connected to them right now. Like Lashana, the person that I had locked in for the entirety of this video until I decided to switch to Gwen and then she gets sent home. However, Duncan also feels like a good option because he is heavily involved in the show, but he really has no major storylines happening. Speaking of someone who feels like they're at the forefront of the show, we have Harold, and you know, like they have like a little dynamic between the two of them, but nothing like how everybody else has major storylines going on. After the embarrassment of Gwen going home, the embarrassment of me not being able to predict anything so far this video, I need to lock in. I need to prove why I'm the best detective on YouTube. I need to get my head in the game. And right now, right here, I'm locking in the winner of Total Drama Action, Duncan. I feel like he's a solid pick because he was a main character last season. He's not really a part of any major storylines this season that are going to be resolved anytime soon. I'm locking him in. As for who I think is going home next, I am going to trust my new strategy and lock in DJ because he's a part of that major storyline with Chef. And our new strategy is to lock in on major storylines because those will probably get wrapped up soon. Locking in DJ as the next elimination, Duncan as the winner. I think we just nailed the whole video right here. I would drop the mic, but it's very expensive. Let's keep watching this show, bitch. Figure out if I just nailed it.
Last year, they faced every obstacle, passed every test, and beat all the odds. They thought they had seen it all. They were wrong.
We got one, baby! Our new strategy is already paying off. Princess. I just watched episodes 8 and 9 because we didn't get an elimination in 8. I think this is just going to be the format going forward. But back to the important part. DJ feels so guilty about cheating and having an alliance with Chef that he comes clean and he eliminates himself from the game. And by doing this, which he did at like buzzer beater moment, saved Lindsay from going home, which I did not see coming. So if you're keeping track at home, we have officially gotten one prediction right so far. And hopefully with our new strategy of looking for characters that have major storylines happening, we can get those numbers up. And honestly, I feel like we really nailed it with the Duncan pick too. Last season, his major storyline was his relationship on again, off again thing. Well, I say on again, off again. It was more like will they, won't they with Courtney. Courtney's not in this season. So Duncan does not have a showmance in this season. He does not have that major plot line that needs to be resolved. He doesn't have really any major plot lines that need to be resolved yet, which means I think he's going to go really far all the way and be the winner. Can you tell how jacked I am right now? I thought this video was a lost cause. I thought this video was going to be like an hour and a half, 2 hours of me looking like an idiot. But turns out I'm back. I'm a genius. If I hung out with Patrick Starr, they would call us Pinky and the Brain. If Albert Einstein was still around, he would say E equals MC Chase. Episode 8's challenge was a doctor-based challenge. Duncan and Lashana work together to essentially save the day, win the challenge. Then in episode 9, it was a horror movie challenge. He is a major part of that episode, but he does not at all get wrapped up in the whole DJ feeling guilty, Lindsay being on the bottom storyline that's happening. Because Lindsay has a whole thing in that episode. The reason that Lindsay was going to be going home is because she's stepped up and become the leader of her team. And because of that, they are calling her bossy. But really, it's fascinating to watch this character who is like, her whole shtick was that she was the dumb blonde. She has actually stepped up and is playing the game and playing the game hard. But that's enough about her. We got to go back to Duncan. You know how I just said like several times that he's not a part of like any major storylines that need to be wrapped up? Well, it's not entirely true. In these last 2 episodes, we start to get an inkling of a storyline. Basically, Lashana wants an alliance between herself, Duncan, and Harold. However, Duncan hates Harold, Harold hates Duncan. Because Duncan bullies Harold for being a nerd, and Harold doesn't like being bullied. Obviously. This new strategy is a big red flag for us. Because that alliance of the 3 of them, it's a loose alliance because the 2 guys don't want to be a part of this alliance, but Lashana's really pushing for it. It could blow up at any moment. And I have already had one of my winner picks eliminated, and my ego can't take another one. So I am concerned about this dynamic because if that blows up and it sends one of them home, will it be Duncan? I don't think so. I think we're okay because the storyline seems to be focused on Lashana. She is the one trying to create this alliance and make it happen. And then if you include a moment that happens in episode 8, where Lashana manipulates her teammates into giving her the reward that they earned in the reward challenge, it really gives me the impression that this storyline is going to blow up on her, which would leave Duncan still in the game and without a major storyline. So I'm definitely keeping Duncan as my winner pick, but now I need to lock in my prediction for who I think is going home next. And because our new strategy seems to be working so well, let's look at the major storylines that are happening right now. Justin is playing the role of the villain. He has a very interesting dynamic with Beth. I do think that this storyline between the 2 of them could come to an end at any moment. And since he's the villain, maybe he will go farther, which means that Beth, maybe he does something evil and Beth goes home. Ozzy's from actual Survivor. In fact, Ozzy's returning for season 50 of Survivor. He's one of like the most dominating Survivor players ever. If you want to hear me talk about Survivor, I have a podcast, Making the Merge. Links down below. Owen and Izzy's showmance is heating up. In fact, in the horror movie challenge, they make out for the entire time. And considering Izzy just got back into the game, I would be very surprised if she was the next one to go already. But maybe Owen is up next. But the biggest storyline, the storyline that feels like it's at the forefront of everything, is this Lashana Duncan Harold situation. And I think that could be the storyline that blows up first, that gets resolved next, which would mean that the person that I think is getting eliminated next, I got to find a better system. Lashana. All right, let's go watch the next couple of episodes and see if we got another one right.
This summer, take some boys. We are so psyched to be here. And some girls.
The humiliation never ends.
They weren't looking for love, but love found them in the funniest of places.
You guys gonna make out now?
Okay, so now I don't even know what's going on again. This is an incredible season of TV. I'm having a blast. But I am once again at a loss because I don't know. I did so good last season. I feel like I really had a grasp on what was going on. I don't know. I'm wrong. I'm wrong at every turn. I just watched episodes 10 and 11. And if you remember in the last part, I locked in Lashana for who I thought was going to be going home next. And what's interesting is that I wasn't that far off. Like, she drops the ball several times in these episodes. Her team is just like really done with her. But that's what's so crazy is even though these episodes set Lashana up as public enemy number 1 for her whole team, their team does not lose. The other team loses, and Izzy goes home. And I did not see that coming at all. In fact, I think in the last section, I said something along the lines of they wouldn't bring Izzy back just to take her away so soon. So I clearly still don't really have a hold on what is going on, but I did get a few other little things correct. So let's talk about those. The first thing that I kind of got right is the reason that Izzy got voted out. Justin, the villain of this season, has got a problem in these episodes where Lindsay and Beth are no longer doing whatever he wants them to do, right? Because he was hot or is hot, they just did everything that he wanted them to do. He'd be like, hey, do this, do that, do this, do that. But now it's not working. He doesn't have that power over them anymore. And it really, truly looked like he was going to be going home, which we kind of assumed, right? But then he managed at the last second, because they were all dead set to send Justin home. At the last second, Justin managed to learn how to like flip his hair differently, which makes them fall in love with him again. And they listen to him and they vote out Izzy. Now, what's interesting about that is in the last part, or maybe the part before that, I don't remember, I made a prediction that Justin was going to eliminate Beth and really submit himself as the villain for this season. And I was kind of right, but it wasn't Beth who got eliminated. It was Izzy who got eliminated at the hands of Justin. Now, surely now that we have seen this part of that storyline come to fruition, it's going to be wrapping up soon because they're already no longer obsessed with how hot he is. So now his whole shtick, the runway is even shorter. Is it time for him to go, or does he pivot and somehow keep becoming more and more manipulative, right? Like he was able to get Izzy out because he learned a new hair flip move. Is he going to keep doing little things like that and staying in the game? So that's one of the things that we had kind of talked about that did come to fruition. The other thing is that Lashana is public enemy number one. Her team found out that she manipulated them into giving her the spa day reward. And then in episode 11, she cost them the challenge. So they are all really done with Lashana. And if they would have lost, she would have for sure been going home. So even though she did not go home when we thought she would, it's still very likely that she goes home next, I think. As for Duncan and Harold, in episode 11, they seem to kind of make up and they work together. They're kind of friends. So it's kind of like that alliance that we talked about blowing up and costing one of them the game, and we predicted it would be Lashana, has come true. And these two are actually going to work together, and Lashana's going to get sent home packing. Some other things happened in this episode, like Owen. Owen gets his jaw broken, and so his mouth is wired shut. That kind of gives him a new character arc, because I kind of thought we don't really see serious injuries like this often in this show. So I kind of thought that meant that they were just going to like, he got injured, he's out of the game. And then it's kind of like oh, well, maybe he would have won if he hadn't have got injured. But no, he's still in the game. So that's either like a new kind of dynamic for him that could keep him going as a character, or it just means that he's going to be going home soon. I don't know. Then there's Lindsay. Lindsay is still being very bossy with her team. She is their leader at this point. But even though she is the leader and she has a very strong alliance with Beth, I would not be surprised if she went home soon. Speaking of Beth, in episode 10, we find out that Beth has this boyfriend. Apparently, he's a super hot male model, just like Justin is. But no one believes that he's real because she has never mentioned him up to this point. And there was only like 2 days in between season 1's events and season 2's events. This is a very fun storyline. It only ends one of 2 ways. Either in the next few episodes, she is going to get eliminated, and then her super hot model boyfriend is going to show up to like comfort her, and everybody's going to be like, whoa, she actually does have a boyfriend. Or we find out that she is faking and it's not a real boyfriend, and that comes to fruition in some other thing. Regardless, I think she's gone soon, is what I'm trying to say. So if I'm right, which let's not get carried away here, let's not assume anything, and Lindsay, Beth, Lashana, and Justin, let's say those are the next 4 to go. That would mean that Duncan, Heather, Harold, and Owen would be our final 4 players. And if you haven't noticed, I haven't really said a lot about Heather lately, and that's a very interesting point because she hasn't really been a problem this season. She has not been toxic and evil. She is not the villain of this season. I mean, she's still being rude to people, but she's actually just like working hard and playing the game. I'm worried that this is a sign that Heather is actually the winner of this season. However, I'm not going to be changing my locked-in pick from Duncan at this point because he is also in a really good position, especially since it's pretty apparent that out of this storyline between Duncan, Harold, Lashana is the one that's getting sent home and causing the end of that storyline. Harold would also be an interesting pick to win this season. Owen was the winner last season, and he was just like the goofy comic relief character the whole time. So maybe Harold will fill that role this season because he is kind of a goofy comic relief character. But here's the thing. Harold is actually a way better player at this game than Owen ever has been. Harold saves the day a lot. In fact, in episode 10, when a challenge goes like terribly wrong, all of the contestants almost drown. And not in like a reality Total Drama Island way. Like Chris McLean was freaking out because he was like, oh God, it's broken. They're all gonna die. And Harold literally saves all of their lives with his mad skills. Same thing happens in episode 11. Well, not the exact same thing. They don't almost drown 2 episodes in a row. Don't get crazy. But it's Harold along with Duncan who saves the day and wins the challenge for their team. Harold would unironically be a really great winner for Total Drama Action. And then there's Owen. No way he wins again, right? That would be insane behavior. So even though I think Harold and Heather are both great options to win this season, I'm sticking with Duncan for my winner pick. I'm sticking with Lashana for who I think gets eliminated next. The season is so much fun. It's absolutely unpredictable, which is frustrating because for this video, but as a fan, it's a ton of fun because you don't see what's going to happen next. All right, let's keep watching.
This summer, they will seek out $1 million.
I'm gonna win me some moolah!
But they will find something so much more. Themselves.
Sorry, dude. Sorry.
Episode 12 was an after show episode again. And then in episode 13, we got some pretty big moments. The biggest thing that happened in episode 13 is that Courtney is back in the game. That's right. Courtney from last season, who was a very aggressive player, played hard, was in like a relationship with Duncan, still is kind of in a relationship with Duncan, on again, off again. What I'm trying to say is she is a threat. She is a force to be reckoned with. She is like Heather last season. Her and Heather were the two kind of villain characters, people that were here to win that money no matter what. They will step on anyone to get their way. And now Courtney's back and she is on Owen's team. Speaking of Owen is the player who was eliminated this episode. So once again, I was wrong. I did a whole thing in the last part where I said I thought Owen was going to be in the final 4. Basically, the reason that Owen got eliminated is because this team lost and they weren't allowed to vote for Courtney because she just got back into the game. So they just had to get out Owen. If you recall, I had locked in Lashana for who I thought was going to be going home next, but this team won again. I just really do think I'm onto something though. This team hates Lashana. Like in the episode, it's a jewelry heist, like an Ocean's 11 type themed episode. They have to save her from a safe. They have to like crack a safe and get her out of there. They just leave her in there for the entire episode. They are so done with her. The next time that this team loses, she is going home. And considering the teams are now tied back up 4-4, it's kind of a toss-up on which team loses next, but it is not out of the realm of possibility for this team to lose, send Lashana home. But let's play some hypotheticals here. What happens if the Killer Grips lose? Will they just send Courtney home as soon as they can, right? They weren't allowed to vote her out this time, but next time they can, I imagine. So will they get rid of Courtney immediately? That feels a little too soon for me. I feel she just got here. She just got here. There's no way they're sending her home next week. And that's kind of the only thing I can see happening over here at this point. So let's say this team loses, the Screaming Gaffers. It's got to be Lashana that goes home from this team. Unless something absolutely crazy happens and Lashana manages to stay. And also, if she isn't the one that goes home, if she does manage to stay, then who out of these three is going home? Duncan? I am a little worried because Duncan is my winner pick. But now that his girlfriend, Courtney, is back in the game, that could open up a major storyline, major story arc that could get resolved and him get sent home. And then I don't think Heather's going home. She's always there. She's doing good in the challenges. She's not a part of any major storyline. She's not the main villain. She's just doing good. She's doing a good job at the game, which leads me to believe that she could be the winner of this whole thing. If Duncan ends up going home because of the Courtney situation, which this Courtney situation is crazy. That's what I should title and thumbnail the video. I might have to switch to Heather. But you know what? I feel like Lashana is for sure the next person going home. I'm going to keep her locked in. I'm going to keep Duncan locked in. Hopefully everything goes good with him. Let's just keep watching.
This summer, in a game where pain is nothing,
I think you broke my coccyx.
they will risk everything.
Have I just lost my powers or something? Has something happened to me? Or is this show just absolutely incredible at preventing us from figuring out what happens next? I just watched episodes 14 and 15, and in the last section, I locked in that Lashana was for sure the next person to go home. And I really thought that I nailed it. Lashana is still extremely hated by all of her other players on her team. And then, when in episode 15, when it's the immunity challenge, the Screaming Gaffers lose. And I was like, I got another one right. That's another point for Chase on the board. Dude, they send Heather home. I was just waxing poetically about how I think Heather might actually be the winner of this season, and then immediately she's sent home, dude. It's like it's not even funny at this point. What is going on with me? I mean, for real, dude. A couple sections ago, at some point, I talked about what I thought the final four players were going to be. Two of those final four players that I said, gone. Just gone. They are gone while I mow my lawn. When I go to a seafood restaurant, I order the prawn. We are well over halfway of this season, and we have predicted exactly one elimination. That being said, Duncan is still in this game. I locked him in as my winner pick all the way back at week 7. Or I say week 7, episode 7. I'm not waiting a week in between these episodes. But in Survivor, like for my Survivor show, Making the Merge, like we talk about the episodes each week. So I'm used to calling them weeks. Anyway, all the way back in episode 7, I locked him in. He's still in the game, which means that if Duncan wins this season, that I predicted the season total drama action all the way back in episode 7, which would really redeem all my failures. That being said, I am concerned because now that Courtney's back, they are right back into their kind of rivalry, on again, off again relationship, which last time I checked is a major storyline that will get resolved, probably with the elimination of one of them or both of them. Remember the Jeff and Bridget situation? The Jeff and Bridget situation is crazy. That should have been the name and thumbnail for this video. But it's definitely heating up. In episode 14, she kisses Duncan right before knocking him off the challenge to win it for her team. And then in episode 15, she beats Duncan one-on-one in a wrestling match. And they're doing this stuff all while being madly in love with each other. It is a major, major plot point. And so part of me, the part of me that's a scaredy cat, wants to just take my win prediction off of Duncan, put it on someone else, because he could be going home at any second. But I'm going to stick with my guns because he's gotten me this far. Because even if I did pick someone else, who am I picking? Lashana? The person who her team hates her? Beth? Get real. She is still like neck deep in this whole I have a hot supermodel boyfriend storyline that I don't know how that's going to go anywhere. Justin? I mean, stranger things have happened and he is the villain of this season. But to be completely honest with you, Courtney is kind of taking over that villain role. So that if his time as the villain of the season is coming to an end, and Courtney is showing up and kind of ramping up the villainy, we don't need him. He might go home soon. And then there's Courtney, right? Would they make the winner of this season a player that did not show up until halfway through? I don't see that happening. I mean, probably this show would do something like that. But surely not. Then there's Lindsay. Here's what I'll say about Lindsay. We've got to watch her grow a lot as a character this season compared to last season where she was just the dumb blonde archetype. She is a very dynamic character this season. She's the leader of this team. Well, at least she was before Courtney showed up and took control. And then there is Harold. And honestly, I see him as a great winning pick. If he won this season, I would actually be pretty excited. We've talked about this before. I think he's a great pick for winner. And then, I know what you're probably wondering. You're like, Chase, if everyone on her team hates Lashana so much, how come they kept Lashana and eliminated Heather? Well, I'm glad you asked. It was like this last second redemption arc where she managed to convince them to keep her, even though they all found out that she was talking mad shit about everyone on the cast on her spa vacation reward. But I don't think it was like a full, we're all friends now thing. I think it was just they kept her around for one more time. And honestly, because I need to lock in a prediction for who I think goes home next, I really just want to keep Lashana locked in. But I have locked her in so many times now, I need to switch it up. Because at this point, if Lashana wins the whole season, I'm going to look even stupider. Even more stupid. Stupider isn't a word. So if I'm not locking in who will I lock in? I think it's pretty obvious. Beth and her weird storyline where she has a boyfriend, maybe. That's a super hot supermodel. I think that's coming to an end. I think it's her time to go. All right, let's keep watching.
This summer, see the one show inspired by a true story of inspiration.
Love's a beautiful thing.
About the struggles we all face and the friends that see us through.
Go jump in a lake, trout lips.
Lashana went home. Jesus Christ. The one time that I did not have her locked in to go home, and she's gone. I feel like that meme where it's like a diamond miner and gave up right before he hit 1 billion diamonds. That's me. And she's my diamonds. You guys are actively watching the downfall of a man watching a scripted reality show parody that aired on Cartoon Network. And it will be the death of me. I just watched episode 16 and 17. Episode 16 was a spy movie themed episode. And we have officially gotten rid of the two teams, and it's merge. Everyone for themselves. Here, I'm gonna clean up the board a little bit. So yeah, now that there's no teams, it definitely switches up the dynamic of the game. Speaking of dynamics, let's talk about all of the things that each of these characters have going on that could be seen as major storylines, and that would cause them to be gone soon. Because remember, that's still our strategy. Hasn't been working as well as it did, but it's working okay. Harold and Duncan are still fighting all the time, and yet they're still working together a lot. Especially when Duncan, Harold, and Justin end up forming a kind of guys alliance because they're trying to even out the numbers with guys versus girls. Because before Lashana was out, there were 4 women to 3 guys. And that is why Lashana got sent home, because they were able to pull the numbers. And a big reason that Lashana went home is because everyone wanted to vote Courtney out, but Courtney actually won the immunity challenge, which means that she could not be voted for. So that means that it was either going to be Duncan who goes home or Lashana. Courtney was actually able to convince Harold to get rid of his sweet, sweet Lashana and keep Duncan. Now, this is where things get even more interesting. Lindsay wins several challenges in these episodes. She's really starting to look like a solid competitor, and I would not be surprised if she won the season. It's a lot like Harold. I think these two both would make great winners. Courtney, meanwhile, is playing super aggressively. Everyone wants her gone except for Duncan, her boyfriend, obviously. I really don't see her winning the season unless somehow she ends up in the final two with maybe someone like Duncan and manages to get the win. Because also she has a lot of unfair advantages because of her lawyers. That's how she was able to get back into the game. She gets to keep like a personal PDA on her all the time. It's just like the rules don't matter for her because of her lawyers. And so I think for that reason, she is not going to win. Guys, I truly think that the final two are going to be Duncan and Harold. They have had a long arcing story together that lasts not only from this whole season, season 2, but all the way back in season 1. Duncan bullies Harold. Harold hates Duncan. They fight all the time, but in this season, they have had to work together a lot. And when they work together, they are a good team. What a better dynamic in the final two than these two. But I am worried. Because Duncan's dynamic with Lashana, they were the bottom two, right? Remember what I said? It was either going to be Duncan or Lashana. Courtney managed to convince Harold to keep Duncan. The fact that Duncan was on the chopping block is very worrisome. And another thing that I'm thinking about is last season, the final two was one guy, one girl. It was Owen and Gwen. Are they going to do two guys in the final two this season? Or do they want to have it be guy-girl? Because that's the thing that this show does. Even when the teams are merged, they kind of like immediately default to guys versus girls. It's like they need to have some sort of teams, even if there's not really teams. You would think that the winner of the season is also going to be like a fan favorite or a good player, right? Owen won last season. He was a fan favorite goofball comedy character. And again, maybe I'm thinking too deep into it, but maybe because they had a guy win last season, they want to have a female character win this season. So let's say they do that. Let's say one of the girls wins this whole season. Out of Courtney, Beth, and Lindsay, who do I see as the winner? I think Lindsay is by far the most likely to be the winner out of those three. I don't think there's any chance Courtney wins. And then like I can kind of see a world where Beth wins and then we get the payoff for her boyfriend joke. Her super hot boyfriend shows up and everybody's like, what? He's real? But that doesn't feel right. Even having Lindsay win doesn't feel right. Let's say that I'm wrong. Let's say that they don't care about whoever won last season. It's a whole fresh season. Anything can happen. One of the guys is the winner. Out of Duncan, Harold, and Justin, who do I think the winner is? Obviously, I've had Duncan locked in for a really long time. I think he would make a great winner. He made it super far last season. He is my favorite, or at least one of my favorite characters in the show. I would consider him a main character of Total Drama so far. But also, I think Harold is a really great pick. We've talked about this a lot. I think Harold would make for a great winner. Justin would be a strange winner, but I could see it happening maybe. But if I'm going to be honest, I really, really think our final two is Duncan versus Harold. Who wins? Kind of a toss-up. I think they're both great winners. But I think this is who we're looking at for the final two. All right. Who am I going to lock in for who's going home next? Since the girls just lost a player and evened it up 3-3, I'm going to say it's a guy next time. And I'm probably going to go Justin because I'm really banking on that Duncan Harold final two. And in order for that to be a reality, Justin needs to go home. So that's what I'm locking in. Cool. Let's keep watching.
This summer, these contestants can survive the challenges.
A fight to the death!
If only they can survive each other.
Step off!
Episode 18 was another Aftermath, like after show that's hosted by Jeff and Bridget. And then in episode 19, we got a moment that made me jump off of my couch, fall to my knees, beg the Total Drama gods to please say it ain't so, Weezer style. And the Total Drama gods' pity on me was abundant, and they reversed their decision. Let me explain. Episode 19, it was a fairy tale challenge, and in the end, Courtney won immunity again, which means that she will not be going home. And we're at the elimination ceremony, and one at a time, Chris McLean is given the golden Chris statues out. That means that you're safe. You're not going home. So one at a time, Beth got her statue. She's safe. Harold got his statue. He's safe. Lindsay got her statue. She's safe. It was just down to Duncan and Justin. One of those two are going home. At this point, I was chilling. I'm watching. I'm like, oh, nice. I locked in Justin. I'm about to get another prediction right. Then Chris said that Duncan's eliminated. My winner pick. And I was about to crash out. And then Chris said he was just joking. Justin is the one eliminated. Oh man, this was a close one. This one was a close one, guys. If the person that I had locked in as the winner of the whole season, since all the way back in like episode 7, if he would have gone home, you guys might have gotten real tears in this video. I would have been devastated. It would have been the final kick to send me down the pit of despair. This show has been so awesome, but trying to predict what happens is like trying to play that little like cup and ball game with Penn and Teller. Trying to predict this show it's like trying to play a game of chess with Raven from That's So Raven. Trying to predict this show has been trying to play the game of Survivor against Boston Rob. Again, if you're a fan of Survivor, I have a Survivor podcast, links down below. Justin goes home, which means I have correctly predicted 2 of the eliminations in this entire season. Duncan is still in the game. I am going to keep Duncan locked in. I'm nervous about it, but I've got this. I believe in him. He can do it. Now, who do I think is going to go home next? You think that it would actually be easier to predict who's going home next because there's so few people. But I have no idea. Now that Justin is gone, the girls have the numbers advantage by 1, which means I think probably it's going to be one of the girls that go home to kind of keep it even 2 and 2. Because again, I don't know what it is about Total Drama, but they're very much like, even when there's no more teams, it's still oddly like guys versus girls. My thought is maybe it's time for Courtney to go. I'm pretty certain that Courtney is not winning this season, but she has dominated every single challenge, immunity challenge, since she got back in the game. So they haven't been able to vote her out, even though everyone other than Duncan wants to vote her out. She's got to go home at some point, and we're getting towards the end here. So what better time than the present? So because of that, I'm locking in Courtney for who goes home next. I am the greatest detective on YouTube, and there's been a lot of self-doubt in this video because this season almost broken me, but it will not break me because me and all of my beautiful subscribers, that's you. Even though we have failed a lot this video, when Duncan is the winner and we locked him in all the way back in like episode 7, we will prevail. So let's go watch because Courtney's going home.
This summer,
Are you ready to rock?
forget what you know about adventure.
You are a goner.
Forget what you know about excitement.
We have to stop them.
Forget what you know about
Action!
Courtney did not go home. I just watched episode 20 and 21, and in true Total Drama fashion, things have changed. Owen's back in the game. Stuff like this is insane because like there was the potential for something awesome that could have happened in this video, in another world, in another, universe, where I lock in Owen episode 1. I'm riding hard for Owen. Owen's going to win 2 seasons back to back. Owen's strong. Owen gets eliminated. My dreams are shattered. What's that? Owen's back. Owen goes on, wins the whole season anyway. That would have been an insane arc. It would have been a great story for this video. It's not what happened. And I doubt that he's winning this whole season. So I doubt it would happen regardless. But it would have been cool. Luckily for me, in this universe, in this world, I have yet to sway from the greatest Total Drama player of all time. Speaking of the greatest Total Drama Island player of all time, Duncan was supposed to be the one who gets eliminated in this episode. However, because Lindsay accidentally voted for herself, Lindsay is the one who goes home. That's crazy because once again, Duncan was the one that was going home. He was on the chopping block. And then something else happened and he managed to stick around, Jesus. And the reason it keeps almost being Duncan that gets eliminated is almost solely because Courtney keeps winning the immunity challenges, meaning no one can vote for her. Courtney has submitted herself in the Heather spot from last season. She is the villain. She is doing all of the villain things that Heather did last season. And this is where we're going to do a little bit of math. That's right. I've got another new strategy. If Courtney is the equivalent of Heather last season, Heather made it into third place last season. Let's assume Courtney, the villain of the season, will make it third as well, because you have to have someone to root against, right? If Courtney had gone home this week, who are we rooting against? We like all these other players. Owen's goofy and fun. Beth is so nice. Harold is unconventional, but I think he's got spirit. And Duncan is genuinely probably my favorite character in both seasons. So there's no one to root against. That's why you have to keep the villain around as long as possible. And that's why third place is perfect for the villain. And last season, if we're following the same rules, the villain goes in third place. The winner was the goofy, funny, comic relief character, Owen. Second place was the main character of the season. That's how it felt, Gwen. If we're following the same rules, Courtney is in third place. The final two is like the main character of the season, which I would think would be Duncan. That's our Gwen equivalent. And then who is the Owen equivalent? Who is the goofy comic relief? I almost guarantee that it's Harold. We've been talking about this final two for a long time. However, I could also see Beth being the Owen equivalent. Now, Owen could, of course, be the Owen equivalent, but I just don't see it happening. Like, I know he just got brought back into the game. I wouldn't be surprised if he's the next one eliminated, right? Because they're not going to have the winner from last season win again. That's not going to happen. But maybe they'll have him in the final two again. I just don't know. So basically what I'm saying is if Courtney goes home third place, and then the final two is either Duncan and Harold or Duncan and Beth, then that means logically, statistically, analytically, the person who goes home next has to be Owen. Has to be. So I'm locking that in. You see my logic? Does my logic make sense? I think it does. And honestly, they're already planting the seeds for him to be eliminated, even though he just got back. Because the only reason that he's back in the show is because he's supposed to be there to like stir stuff up for production. But he's too nice and he hasn't been doing a good job of causing chaos. So I could see him leaving for sure. As my winner pick, I got to stick with Duncan. Now, obviously, using my math from last season when the main character, Gwen, his equivalent, didn't win, it's a pretty risky move. But I'm hoping that I'm not spot on. And I've just kind of got like enough to get me by, if that makes sense. Like I'm hoping that yes, the final two is going to be a goofy character and then the main character, but this time the main character wins. I don't know. All I know is I'm Duncan Strong. Let's go see who goes home next.
In the high-tech world of espionage,
Does anybody know anything about bombs?
friendships begin with a whimper
What kind of BFF are you anyway?
and end with a bang.
Get ready for the fireworks!
Okay. I think we're on the right track. Stay with me. I did not predict who goes home correctly. I was wrong again. I had locked in Owen, and while it did come extremely close for that to be the case, Harold went home. I tricked you for a second. Sorry, dude. I'm pumped. So basically, if my theory is correct, which I think it is, then we know exactly how the rest of the season is going to play out. There are 4 players left. Owen is only in the game to sabotage players for Chris, the host. Harold figured that out and warned the other players as he was being, whisked away after being eliminated. So I think that means Owen is for sure going home next. And if Owen goes home next, then what that sets up, here, I'll block Owen. What that sets up is the final 3. We talked about Courtney being the villain, and the villain last season, Heather, went home third. So that means that she would go home next after Owen, which would leave us with a Beth and Duncan final 2. Duncan being like the main character and Beth being the goofy character, just like Owen and Gwen last season. So since we have this blueprint, I'm locking in Owen for who goes home next. I'm going to call my shot a little bit early and say after that, Courtney goes home. And then I'm going to keep my locked in pick of Duncan, even though last season the goofy character won over the main character. Because this is why I'm going to keep Duncan. It's a 50-50 shot at that point, if they are the final two. A 50-50 shot. What will be more impressive? If I keep Duncan locked in when I had him first locked in all the way back at episode 7, and everyone's going to be like, Chase was a genius all along. We had no idea. We doubted him. Or I switch, say Beth does win, then it's like, well, is that even that impressive if it took you the whole season to figure it out? No. Or even more embarrassing, what if I switch to Beth, Duncan wins, I had him locked in the entire time, and then at the 1 yard line, I fumble the ball? No, dude, I'm keeping Duncan locked in. Owen's going home next. Then Courtney. Final two, Duncan wins it all. As a side note, I would just like to point out that I really enjoy this show. I've fallen in love with all of these characters. I thought it was weird at first when season 2 of Total Drama Action, wasn't just a whole new cast of characters, right? Because in Survivor, which is the show that this is parodying, it's a new cast every season. And then sometimes they do like an all-star season. But now that I've, seen almost the whole second season, I'm like, oh, I totally get it. Because last season, there were characters that we saw the entire time, and they were super fun. And then this season, those same characters, we got to see them even longer. And then there was characters from last season that we didn't get to see much of, that we got to see a whole lot of this season, like Justin and Beth too. It's like Beth was like, she became like a main character this season, when last season she was a nobody. It's really, really fun. I totally understand why Total Drama has such a big online like fandom. It's because these characters are so great. It's so much fun. I really, really love watching this show. All right, we're in the final 4. Let's keep watching and find out what happens next.
The votes are all in.
Whose will it be?
The numbers have been tallied.
Make a decision.
The results have been sealed.
Now pick a winner so we can all go home.
Big news. Big news. I just watched episode 24 and we totally nailed it, kind of. Basically what happens in this episode is Beth wins the challenge so that she is safe and she's guaranteed a spot in the final 3. And then we find out Duncan is safe too. The final 3 guaranteed. Duncan, Beth. Who's going to get that other spot? Is it going to be Courtney or is it going to be Owen? Courtney gets voted out. Now, I know what you're saying, Chase. You didn't predict her to go out 4th. You predicted her to go out 3rd. I'll get there. Courtney gets voted out, and then Owen gets fired because he's technically not even like a contestant, really. He was just there to try to cause chaos, but he wasn't doing a good job of causing chaos. So now he's fired. So that means we're down to our final 2, Beth and Duncan. I'm pretty sure the next episode is like the final episode. So we will find out who won this season. We will find out if I was right and Duncan wins Total Drama Action.
Give all the money to me.
Thanks for that bit of nonsense, Beth.
The stars will collide one final time
Here we go again.
for Hollywood's biggest fight.
It's gonna be a tough one to beat.
Total Drama Action Red Carpet Rivalry Round 2. Tonight at 9 on Cartoon Network.
Beth won. Beth won the whole season. I will say, though, after Beth won, guess what happened? Her super hot supermodel boyfriend showed up, and everybody was like, whoa, he's real? I called that. I don't remember when that was, but at some point in this video, I said that. What's a little frustrating is I stuck with Duncan the entire season almost, and that made me not take a risk. Even though when I saw that formula where it was like the bad guy goes out 3rd, final 2's the goofy one versus the main character, the goofy one wins. I should have switched to Beth. But because, I wouldn't have been able to live with myself if I switched off of Duncan and then he won. You know what I mean? Like, I had put myself in too tight of a box. If I was, if I had jumped around a little bit more this season with my winner pick instead of just staying with Duncan the whole time, I might have been willing to make that jump at some point. But what are you going to do? It was an incredible season. It was an incredible season. This is twice in a row now that I almost got it. Last season, I was so close to predicting the winner. This season, I was so close to predicting the winner. And one other thing that I want to bring up is that they did the finale. The way that the winner is decided this season, different from last season. It's more like the actual game Survivor this season, where they have the jury of the eliminated players vote for who they think should win. And I thought that was awesome. Thank you again, Helix Sleep, for sponsoring. Take advantage of their Black Friday exclusive partner offer, and you can get 27% off site-wide at helixsleep.com/chasebridges. The links are down below. All right, dope.